Blueberry crop is important to Kakuzi because it's one of our cash crops. For the customer out there, it is important for obvious health benefits, such as proper functioning of the brain, the heart, anti-aging. And we can also use it to make things like jam, smoothies such as yogurt, wine, and also it has a pleasant taste. The varieties of blueberry that we plant at Kakuzi are Stella Blue. Stella Blue is important because it's a hybrid variety that has been produced from tissue culture, and it's important because it's a high-yielding variety. At the moment, we at Kakuzi, we are growing blueberry in 10 hectares. We call it a pilot project though. And if that is successful, we are ambitious. We intend to do up to 200 hectares of a 5 to 10 year period. During planting, we look at such factors as the spacing of the crop, because you want to give it an ample growing environment. You don't want a crop that will compete with another one for nutrients. You've got to look at the correct planting depth, because you don't want to plant it too shallow, because you will then interfere with the root system and therefore the overall quality during growing. And you don't want to plant it too deep, because sometimes if you plant it close to the stem and to the leaves, it tends to rot. At Kakuzi, we plant our blueberries in pots, in substrate. One obvious reason for that is that when you do that in pots, it's a process we call hydroponics. You gain about 30% more yield compared to planting it in soil. Secondly, when you plant in pots or substrate, you have control of the nutrients that you give, you have control of the water, as opposed to a soil whereby the soil is in itself is a power, it has its own nutrients, and the nutrients may not always be balanced. So you want to achieve a situation where you have your nutrients balanced and you are in control of that, and you can also control the watering, because you cannot overwater, you cannot underwater. There are many quality control measures that we look at in terms of harvesting a blueberry crop. So first of all, the harvesters are taken through a lot of processes in terms of training. We also do what we call periodic medical tests for food handlers. During the process of sorting and packing, we don't encourage people to continue handling the produce, because then they will wipe out the plume, which is part of our quality guarantee. So we use forceps to make sure that minimum handling with thumb or hand, that one is intended to make sure that they do not touch. Minimal touching is minimized. Every berry that we harvest should be processed and packed within 30 minutes. The important facet here is to make sure that you are in control of the cold chain, because then beyond that period, then you begin to see deterioration of quality. So that is one thing that we must make sure, that we don't have a pile of produce on the table. Every berry within 30 minutes should be processed and packed. At Kakuzi, farming is done sustainably, especially at blueberry. One thing I've just mentioned is we are on substrate. The key for that is to make sure that the soil remains intact, and so environmental degradation is preserved. We also produce using drip irrigation, and that is efficient use of water. So we maximize usage of water. We also harvest rainwater from our greenhouse rooftops, and we channel this back to the reservoirs so that there is a sustainable and long-term use of that water.